The Boeing 747 is a plane, which, unlike a boat or a car, has the ability to fly. It does this using wings that are the length of about 26.5 Komodo dragons. While otherwise flawless, the Boeing 747 in Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't fly well. If I had to guess, it'd be because the game engine probably wasn't built for cold-blooded aircraft. In saying all of this, the 747 is possible to fly, and I'm gonna teach you how. My name's Bevo Devo, and welcome to Planes That Fly. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to fly the Boeing 747 using onboard navigation features from takeoff to landing. Now, in its current state, the 747 is pretty buggy, and the autopilot features don't really seem to work all that well. Now, I did a flight last night with my brother, which was live streamed on twitch.tv/BevoDevo, and I was able to get a steady flight, and I was heading to where I needed to go at the right altitude, but for some reason the plane just wanted to bank left and right and kind of just swerve about towards where I was going, but wouldn't stay straight, which was kind of annoying. Not to mention setting the autopilot and getting the thing to climb or descend takes a lot of input and troubleshooting. Now, if this thing didn't look so damn good, I'd say this wasn't worth it. But it does, so let's get on the ground and I'll show you how to fly this thing. Okay, so here we are on the ground. I went ahead and started on the runway just because that's faster, and I don't like wasting your time, but I definitely recommend doing the pre-flight checklist on this thing because it's cool. It takes forever, but I mean, it's really satisfying just to hear everything spool up slowly and all that. As you can see, I'm repping the Korean Air livery. Down in the description, I'll link to the site where I got this from. I'm not a promotion or anything. I think it's just really cool, and if you didn't know about it, now you do. And I have a pack that has like 72, but you can get a whole bunch, and I just think it looks really clean and makes it a lot better looking than just the default skin. Anyways, let's get into the cockpit and I'll show you what's what. Now, to start with, I like this cockpit a lot better than I do the Airbus 320neo. I just think it offers, I don't know, I think it just looks better, but it again is overwhelming if you're not familiar with it, and the buttons are labeled a bit differently. I'll go ahead and show a couple of basic features. One, you've got the speed brake lever right here. You know, that's handy for just slowing down real hard, easy for landing, stuff like that. You've got a massive throttle system here. If you use a controller like me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can control them individually if you want. Hope we're not moving. Nope, cool. And the flaps are going to be over here. And it starts you on 10 degrees for takeoff. I'd recommend that too. It just is going to make it easier. For landing, I mean, you'll want to full flap it, and we'll talk about that when we get there. In the meantime, if you look down here below the throttle system, this is going to be where all your communication stuff is. It's on either side. I have recently gotten in the habit, because I think it's really fun and immersive, that whenever air traffic control tells you a frequency to change to go ahead and do it down here. And how you do that is, let's say we needed to switch to, I don't know, frequency 125.925. Then we would go 125, and then it does already doing the decimal, and then 925. And then all we have to do to activate that is hit this little swap, and it'll swap that between the standby and the active, which is really nice. Now, there are 3 of these panels, and they all work the same, so that's convenient, especially when you're flying at night or just lose track of where stuff is. You can just quickly get to one pretty easily as long as you go back here. You also have 3 of these little computers down here, which you can access all the same information from, and if you mess with one, then it messes with all of them, which is kind of cool but kind of annoying, but whatever, no big deal. But we won't be really getting into these today because they're kind of complex, and that's not the scope of this video. For another cool feature is you can set your squawk down over here, which is nice if you want to do that manually. Alternatively, when they tell you the squawk and all that, you can just change it through the ATC menu. But it's just little fun immersive stuff. So as we work our way towards autopilot, let's get a couple of other features here. One over here is how we're going to change our barometric pressure. Right now it's at 29.92, which is pretty much what it usually is, but if you want to change it, you can do that from here. And if you watch down here, it'll change as I increase and decrease it, and I'll put it back to 29.92. Cool. Now below that we have a selector of how we would change our second nav screen here. We can change it from the map to VOR to approach, and then just to our flight plan, which is pretty nice and convenient. Next to that, we have our range that we can set for this. So if we zoom all the way out, we can pretty much, see our whole flight plan there. Now, even further below that, if you want to see your constraints, which we went over in the IFR ILS video, which I'll be referencing a lot of information from that video down here. You can turn that on by hitting the data button, and it'll show the constraints for all your markers and stuff like that, which is really nice and convenient, just so you can see generally what altitude you need to be at when you're on an approach. In the meantime, let's get to the beast that is the broken, horrible autopilot. So in the top center part of our cockpit is where we can find all of our autopilot stuff. Over here we have 3 autopilot modes. You can use one just fine, and just fine is a very relative term because autopilot's very finicky. Now below that is where our approach mode button is located, and that we'll use on the approach, like I showed in the video I referenced earlier. So next we have our altitude hold, which is pretty simple. You just turn this dial, change what your altitude you want to be, and then make sure you turn it on. So this is what it looks like when it's off, and then you turn it on. And then for vertical speed, you want to make sure you hit it, and then hit it, and then you can change it, and you should see a bug pop up, but it's not popping up. Is it because I'm too low? No, it's not. And that's what happens if you hit it again. Suddenly it pops up, as you can see right down here. It wasn't there before. So that's kind of what I mean by troubleshooting and stuff like that with the autopilot, is sometimes that just does not want to work. So you have to keep making sure you enable it, and then it suddenly works. Now to the left of that, we have our heading hold, which if you wanted to use, you can, and it's as simple as you set the heading and 267, whatever, and then you can turn it to hold, and then it does what it's supposed to do in theory. Now we're not going to use heading hold for this flight. We're going to use something different, but before we get to that, let's talk about what's below heading hold, which is our bank limit, and we can set that. You kind of have to get at a weird angle to where you're not messing with that top dial, but the bottom one, and you can set it from anywhere between 5 and 25 degrees. However, it's best that you set it to auto. The reason for that being is that means the plane can make the adjustments that it wants to make based on its own discretion. Whereas if you limit it, then if you need to make a hard right bank, it'll only do it 5 degrees if you set it to 5 degrees. And that basically just limits the ability of the aircraft to turn. Our vertical speed seems to be maybe working. What is happening? What just happened? Why did that happen? What is it doing? You know why I kept nosediving? I didn't activate autopilot. I thought it was the flaps. No, I didn't activate autopilot. Classic memes. Either way, let's take off now. That was stupid. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take the gear up again. This time I'm going to slap on autopilot, which comes on. Get ready to get my vertical speed up. And is it going to go? Gonna go? Looks like it's righting itself. Yes, it is. Oh, thank God. Okay. Gonna try and reduce my speed quite a bit. If I bring up the flaps, I can increase my speed to, I don't know, we'll say 250 or something like that. Seems reasonable. You just gotta make sure you keep an eye on it, but the auto throttle will hold really well. Alright, let's contact Denver departure. I did a big brain play here in this video in that I turned off air traffic control volume, so that way he stops yelling and stops ruining my videos. Oh, they want me at 6,000 feet? Oh, I missed that. Okay, let's see if this procedure works like it should. Okay, so altitude hold mode on. VS on. The bug doesn't show up. VS on. Bug shows up. Go down. So sometimes you have to slap VS twice, which is really annoying. Oh, and now they want me at 8,000? Oh, that's annoying. So I'll adjust it. Altitude mode hold on. You need to hit that button every time you change your altitude. Then VS on, there's no bug. If I adjust it, there's no bug, so I can adjust it to whatever, it doesn't matter, the bug shows up now. And then I can go ahead and climb. In the meantime, LNAV in theory should be taking me where I need to go. Where am I? Getting where I need to go. Slowly but surely. In the meantime, as you can see, we'll zoom out our range here. We just cut across the line and now we're cutting back. And maybe eventually it'll get right on the heading, but last night it did not. It just kept cutting back and forth. Which, I mean, if you run through instruments, I mean, we were doing a night flight last night, so we were only using instruments because, you know, you can't really see anything. Anyways, and it was just annoying to be just watching this pass the line and the line and the line. My brother's solution was just zoom this out all the way so you can't see it, and everything looks fine, but, you know, it's still kind of annoying. Maybe it'll write itself out. I don't know. Either way, that's pretty much the basics of just the general autopilot features. You gotta make sure you activate it when you start, which is the first big thing. And then with the altitude, if you change it, make sure you hit the whole button to turn on vertical speed after that. Hit vertical speed, change it, hit vertical speed again, and then you can change it. Which, I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. And then you'll just have to live with you going back and forth. I mean, you see I overcorrected again. I mean, the plane's going where it needs to go. It's just picking a very snaky path to do it. Okay, after like 5 attempts, we're not low enough. And we're crashing immediately. Let's recover it. And my controller's not plugged in. Where's she gonna touch down?
40, 30, 20, 10.
Hey, not horrible! I think I'm actually gonna get it this time. I've got confidence. Okay. Immediately we need to start by turning auto throttle off and then back on. Altitude hold mode on. That on. LNAV on. Sorry, I'm not really explaining because I just have a lot I need to do very quickly. But basically I just need to set the altitude to get ready for the descent, which we're actually going to start immediately. Altitude hold mode on. BS on. BS on. Turn it on again. On again. Why is it refusing to work? On again. And nose down. Okay, now we're going to descend and maintain 2000, so same procedure as before. That's annoying and cumbersome, and you're just never sure it really works until it works. So slap it to 2000, altitude hold on, VS on, check it. That's not there. Just stick with that. Hit that again. It's there now, so we can adjust. Send and maintain 2,000 feet. We're gonna go kind of aggressively. It's gonna make us pretty fast, but it's worth it. He's yelling at me so much and you can't even hear it. Isn't that beautiful? Ladies and gentlemen, turn off your ATC. Don't listen to them. They don't know anything. It's a joke. But it does kind of make life peaceful. We're gonna have to adjust our altimeter here. Don't know why I can't say that word. And bring it up by 0.01. And so once we hit Tickery, we're gonna get ourselves into approach mode. I'm gonna go ahead and slap down a notch of flaps to slow us down. It's gonna kind of slow our descent here just for a little bit. It looks like we're gonna start turning soon here. And we won't be exactly at 2,000 where I'd like to be, but we're gonna be pretty close, which will help. I might wait until, well, no, because approach mode will take over in a bit. So yes, I'm gonna go ahead and slap on approach mode. We should continue to descend. Ears down. Throw on an extra notch of flaps. Drop down to 190. And have we found the glide slope? Looks like we might have. Now, the key thing here, assuming we're able to land this well enough, I mean, you can tell we're getting lined up with the airport, so at least this stage helps, and I'm confident at this point that regardless of how this landing goes, that I have taught you what you need to know. I pray I have. But it's functional and it works, and for landing you want to make sure that you disarm the auto throttle, which is going to be right here. Otherwise, you will just it'll try and continue at the speed that you set it at. So that's just a little advice from me. But we can go ahead and drop it down to 180. Apply another notch of flaps. Actually, 2 notches of flaps. And actually, I might go full flap at this point. Just apply it in waves so it doesn't freak out the autopilot. Because autopilot loves being scared. That's for sure. Drop down our airspeed to 150. I want to be going slow before I take over. Got the controller in hand. I'm just on standby at this point. We can see we're lined up nice and well with the runway. At this point, we appear to be going just a little high. So I am going to decide whether or not I want to take over.
300.
Rack down speed. And
200.
take off auto throttle.
100.
Cut speed.
50. 40.
Coming in a little high. That's okay.
20. 10.
And we're gonna flare, flare, and we touch down. We're gonna bounce a little bit because this thing's weird to fly. It's hard to tell how high you are. And at this point we're on the ground. It wasn't the cleanest landing in the world, but heck, it worked and it got us there. And I hope that helped by some degree or another for you to get a little more informed. I mean, as you can tell, the 747's tricky, like I said, to use. And I don't want you to be discouraged from flying it just because it's a buggy mess. You can make it work and it's functional. So if you want to fly it, here's how, and good luck. Just make sure you're flipping everything on and off again. If it doesn't work, on and off again. It's like basic IT. This doesn't work. What's your first procedure? Turn it off and back on again, and that should fix most things. Beyond that, that's going to be it for today's video, so I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe, and if you want to see any more planes, I should be covering a good portion of them over the course of the next few weeks here, but if there's anyone you want to see right now, let me know, because I'm still thinking of ideas. In the meantime, we are still continuing our cross-country flight, and I should be getting those videos out pretty soon here on this channel. And if you want to see any of that live, make sure you check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/BevoDevo, which I don't think I've brought up enough today. Either way, thanks for watching.